The story begins with a newborn baby crying. A 20-year-old young man held the baby gently in his arms. Looking at her, he wondered. An angel. His name is Enoch Rubinstein. That was his first thought upon seeing a baby who looked exactly like him. Could it be? Does she recognize that I'm her father? It was an irresistible pull. A bond tied to blood. And perhaps, even affection. Enoch couldn't understand himself for feeling this way. Like most ability users in the Empire, this child had been conceived merely as an obligation to continue the family line, bred like a stud horse. He thought he would feel nothing. It was supposed to be nothing more than a small being that shared his blood, a child destined to grow up as an ability user, a noble, and eventually, a soldier, an imperial hound. Then Rubinstein began to think, no, I can't let her live as I do. He gently kissed her forehead. No, I can't let you live a life in this wretched battlefield. Lost in thought, he carried the baby as he walked. Suddenly, a young woman around 20 years old approached him and asked, "Are you thinking of running away? With the child, no less? What are you even thinking?" "His name is Selena, the child's biological mother," Rubinstein replied. "I don't want to raise her into living a life like mine." Then Selena said, "She's my child, too." Rubinstein speaks, "Then let's go together." Hearing this, Selena was smiled and says, "I didn't realize you were such an impulsive person. We were born, destined to die." Then she stepped forward, leaned toward him, and added, "As ability users and nobles of the Empire, this child is no exception. Still, I understand how you feel. Having a daughter does make you think differently." Her words made him angry, and he began to think, "I can't just give up like this." Then she says, "Go." At that moment, Rubinstein stepped forward. Then he stopped and said to her, "I plan to head to Xenon. I don't know if I'll stay there though." Selena says, "All right. I wish you luck." On that day, the Empire's sole sword master, Enoch Rubinstein, disappeared. That was 7 years ago. 7 years later, nestled in the heart of the forest stood a small wooden cottage. Though simple, it looked warm and welcoming. Inside the cottage, a young man smiled and said, "Good morning, my princess. Time to wake up." A little girl, rubbing her eyes, says, "Just 5 more minutes. His name is Lilith." Then he pulled the blanket off the little girl, and she shouted, No. He speaks, "It's time to brush your teeth and have breakfast." He was wearing a cherry-patterned apron and holding a spatula in his hand. His name was James Brown. He was the girl's father, and he was skilled at household chores. At that moment she said, "I'm not hungry." James Brown speaks, "Well, Daddy made your favorite chicken egg dish. Extra delicious for you." Then Lilith smelled the fragrance and said, "It's not just chicken and eggs. I smell broccoli as well." Hearing this, James was shocked. At that moment, Lilith shouted loudly, "Ack! I said I don't like broccoli." James speaks, "What could be better than this? My princess Lilith, how about just 2 pieces of broccoli today? If you eat them, I'll give you chocolate macarons, with apple jam for dessert." Hearing this, Lilith began to think, "Trying to bribe me with chocolate macarons and apple jam, huh? Do you think I'm the kind of child who'd fall for something like that?" After a while, Lilith says, "Fine. Just 2 pieces. Good. It turns out she is that kind of child." Then she think again, "What's 2 pieces of broccoli, anyway?" At that moment, James kissed her on the cheek and asked, "Oh, who's Daddy's sweet little angel?" Then she drifted into thought. "My name is Lilith Brown. I'm 7 years old this year." As a child with a somewhat special secret, I gradually recalled memories of my past life while growing up. Now, I am enjoying peaceful and happy days with my dad, James, a super skilled homemaker and parenting master. I gradually began to recall memories of my past life around the age of 3. And now, at the age of 7, I remember everything perfectly, including the fact that this world is inside a fantasy novel I read in my past life. In my past life, I wasn't human. What I was, right, I was a graduate student. And that really wasn't a life fit for a human. So, at the flowery age of 25, I died from overworking while staying up all night writing my thesis. The title of my thesis was A Study on the Characteristics of Social Reform Suggested in Fiction, a focus on the fantasy novel Rebellion of Dos. How overwhelming must the stress from my thesis have been for me to end up reincarnating into the novel itself? until the memories of my past life came back. I was no different from any ordinary baby. Even now, after remembering everything, my past life feels faint, unless I deliberately bring it to mind. Instinctively, I find myself fully immersed in my current life. Should I hide the broccoli under the chicken nugget? So, even though I can think like an adult now, my childish dislike for broccoli hasn't changed one bit. After a while, James asked while brushing her hair, "What hairstyle should we go with today? Bunny ears? Or a princess look?" Lilith replied, "Dad, should I tie it myself? Just give me ponytails, okay?" Hearing this, James laughed and said, "Our princess is still a baby. You can't even reach Dad's waist." Lilith speaks, "It's just my body, you know?" Then she was lost in thought. For some reason, I was smaller than the 5-year-old next door, but I am a smart child who has the mind of a proper adult. Still, I shouldn't act in a way that makes adults feel weird, right? After a while, she says, "Just do bunny ears." James speaks, "Bunny ears? Sounds good." When her hair was completely done, James looked at her and said, "Oh, you're so cute." Then he kissed her cheek and asked, "Whose daughter is this pretty?" She replied. "Ugh, don't kiss me," James replied. "Right, princess. Today, Dad needs to go to the market. So go play at the neighbor's house. I'll tell Aunt Susan." Lilith asked, "Why? Can't I go with you?" James replied, "Not for now. There are scary soldier uncles walking around these days." Lilith speaks, "But that has nothing to do with me. I don't have any abilities, not even the size of an ant's poop," he says. "Still not possible. It's dangerous." Then she drifted into thought. The scary soldier uncles my dad talks about are elite soldiers from the Imperial Royal Army. They came all the way to this rural territory, hundreds of miles away from the capital. The Imperial Army occasionally comes down here to find ability users. In the world of Rebellion of Dos, where I reincarnated, humans are divided into two groups. Those who can use magic are called ability users. Those who cannot use magic are called the powerless. Ability users can live with noble titles and receive high treatment, but they have a strict pyramid hierarchy where individuals are divided based on their abilities. Frequent wars break out, and ability users are often drafted into these conflicts. In this story, even main characters are mercilessly killed off. Ordinary humans, the powerless, don't even make it as supporting characters in this novel. That includes my dad and me. Ordinary brown hair, brown eyes. Even his name is as common as James Brown. He's clearly an extra. After a while, she speaks, "But I actually like it. Being born ordinary is a huge blessing, isn't it?" he asked. "Huh? What do you mean by that?" Hearing this, she smiled and replied, "It's a scary world, you know. I love living simply and happily with my dad. Just the two of us. I'm happy." He smiled and speaks, "That's right. As long as I have my princess, Dad is happy." One day, James leaves Lilith with her Aunt Susan while going to market, and as he leaves, he says, "Then, please take care of Lilith today as well. Princess, Dad will be back soon," she said. "Take care." Then, after some time, she and his Uncle Joe play cards. His Uncle Joe throws pieces of acorn onto the table. He tells Lilith, "At first, I didn't even know he was your dad. A young man suddenly came into a village on a mountain, and lived quietly without saying a word to anyone, as if he had some story." Aunt Susan tells, "Then one night, your dad came, looking pale, holding a baby. That baby was you, Lilith. I'm sure she isn't sick, but she just won't eat. She must be hungry. But whenever I try to give her a bottle of milk, she screams and cries. Then I took you from him and examined you. I understood what was wrong with you. So I brought you inside and gave you some baby food, which had some mashed apples, bananas, and other things mixed with baby formula. Then I said, now she should be able to eat it." Even though the baby was over 5 months old, she had only been drinking formula. Tired of it, she must have been holding back her hunger and expressing it in her own way. After a while, the Uncle Joe tells him that after this, he became very polite. He brought a lot of wood and said, "You can take half of it." I thanked him. Every time my wife and I appeared from afar, he'd quickly run over to greet us. Aunt Susan speaks. Because he was raising a baby for the first time, he must have felt lost, so from that day on, he kept asking and learning about everything he needed help with. Hearing this, Lilith began to think that Dad A seasoned house husband would be like that. Then the Uncle Joe laughed loudly and said, "Ha ha! I won this time, little one. Flush! Ha ha!" As soon as the uncle reaches out his hand to pick up the acorn, Lilith says, "Wait! Full house! Let's play again tomorrow. I always welcome a challenge." Uncle Joe shouted, "Oh, a full house!" Then she comes out of the house, picks up a laundry basket, and says, "Thank you for today. I had a great time. Auntie, you should go ahead. I'm going to do the laundry." Aunt Susan asked, "What? Why are you doing the laundry?" "Just leave it," Lilith replied. "I'll do it so Dad doesn't have to do it himself." After coming back from a trip to the market, hearing this, Aunt Susan speaks, "Oh my, Lilith, you really have a heart of gold, like an angel. Then Auntie will do it before I leave." "Is that the laundry?" Lilith added. "Oh no! Dad's underwear is in there too," Aunt Susan said. "Oh my!" She was walking with the laundry basket, lost in thought. "Dad doesn't like it when I secretly do the laundry. Still, I will keep doing it. I was an orphan in my past life. The only memory I have of a kind guardian is my current dad. At a young age, Dad took care of me on his own, changing my diapers, feeding me baby food, giving me baths, along with everything else, every single day. The significance of Dad being there for me since I was a baby, when a bond formed between us, means a lot to me. I'll grow up quickly and repay him with filial piety." After a while, she reached the riverbank and started washing the clothes. As she began washing them, she found herself lost in thought again. "Ah, the life of an extra is so peaceful. I wish I could live every day like this. Although, in this world, I'm a powerless commoner who isn't treated as a human being. My life is a bit poor, but still, from then on, I'll just leisurely enjoy a good life. Once a better world is created, from then on, I'll just leisurely enjoy a good life. Compared to my past life, there's nothing better than this. Reincarnation is the best." Then, all of a sudden, the sound of approaching hooves interrupted her thoughts. She think again. How the sound of hooves in a village like this? At that moment, several horses ridden by soldiers came to a halt right in front of her. As soon as she saw them, her eyes fell on the imperial crest on a soldier's uniform. She thought, "It's the Imperial Army! A blue cloak. Are they the Dos-class Knights of the Empire?" The commander of the knights said, "Capture her." A knight picked up the Lilith, touched her with a mana beam, and says, "She's a gifted individual. It seems she really is Enoch Rubinstein's daughter." She shouted, "Ah, it hurts." Then she thought, "Me? A gifted individual? Something must be wrong." Commander speaks, "I can tell just by looking at her." At that moment, the knight handed Lilith over to the commander. Lilith struggled desperately to free herself and shouted loudly, "Please let me go." "Let go, I said." Commander asked, "Where is Enoch Rubinstein?" She asked, "Who is that?" Then she think, "Enoch Rubinstein? Why is that name brought up now?" The name from the novel, Rebellion of Dos. He is the commander of the Dos Holy Knight Order, the most powerful military force in the story. A Dos-ranked Holy Knight and Swordmaster, as well as a Duke, the strongest character in the story. In his youth, he lost his young daughter due to the imperial family, and on a certain day, he sharpened his blade for vengeance. At that time, he took in and raised another male lead, Jesse, as his adopted son. He is one of the two main protagonists. Seeing how he's searching for Enoch Rubinstein and his daughter, it seems the story is set before the original events began. His daughter must still be alive, right? But what does that have to do with me? It doesn't matter. After a while she speaks. "Over there. Hey! Wait. You're terribly misunderstanding something." Hearing this, he said, "What?" Then he covered her mouth with his hand and says, "But first, my head is spinning. Blood is rushing to my head. Could you sit me up properly?" Seeing him, she began to think again. Black hair and blue eyes. I think there was a character who looked like this. But who was it again? Ah, right. I'm in a tight spot right now. At that moment she asked, "Are you talking about Enoch Rubinstein? The Duke who's also a holy knight and sword master? With silver hair and blue eyes?" Commander replied, "Yes." Then she added, "I might look similar to him because of my silver hair and blue eyes, but my dad's name is James Brown, not Enoch whatever. I was told that my hair and eye color is just like my mom's, who left home a long time ago." Hearing all this, Commander says, You're quite educated. At that moment, she heard a voice. Lilith! It was her father. The moment she saw him, she shouted loudly. Daddy! James said. What are you doing right now? If you don't want to die, put my daughter down. Hearing this, she was shocked and think, Dad, are you crazy? Do you not know who these people are? Just speaking disrespectfully to a high-ranking noble is grounds for immediate execution. And you're threatening to kill him on top of that? Goodness. Dad, you're out of your mind? After a while, she folded her hands and pleaded. Excuse my dad? He can't live without me. I think he's just temporarily lost his mind. If you could be so lenient, I'll be eternally grateful. Commander speaks. No matter how you look at him, he's just a random citizen of the Empire. He's a 27-year-old single father living in a mountain village, struggling to make ends meet while collecting firewood with his young daughter. She says, Excuse me? Over here? Then Commander handed Lilith over to a knight, dismounted his horse, and walked toward him. She shouted loudly, Ah, no! Please don't do anything to my dad. Commander says. It looks like that's not true, James said. Why did you come? Let go of my daughter. Commander speaks. Enoch Rubinstein. The Emperor commands you to immediately return to the order and fulfill your duty. Hearing this, she shouted loudly. Ah, no! I told you, my dad's name isn't Enoch whatever. Commander added. It's been 7 years. Isn't it time for you to end this? As you know better than anyone, according to the Pavilion military law, deserters are subject to immediate execution, until their whereabouts are confirmed. They are considered fugitives and treated as Class 1 criminals. However, the gracious Emperor has held you in high regard for your past devotion and abilities. Despite clearly violating military law, no arrest warrant was issued for you. Your title and wealth have not been confiscated either. Hearing this, she was confused and began to think, Wait, excuse me, why is he speaking in a way I don't understand? Then Commander said, Until now, all your illegal actions have been overlooked. We've been waiting for you. Now it's time for you to return. Disobeying the Emperor's command will only result in death. Once again, I will relay the Emperor's words. Enoch Rubinstein. As of today, return to the order and fulfill your duty. Hearing this, James smiled and speaks. The Emperor's words are as flashy as ever. In the past and present. At that moment, Lilith was shocked and think, What? Whose words? The Emperor's? Mocking the nobles and insulting the royal family. He really has crossed the line. Then James gave a faint smile and added, Isn't it about time the Emperor gets a little more honest with his words? He has simply kept the kennel empty for his dog to return, hasn't he? Lilith began to think again. I need to stop Dad and run away before this gets any worse. Then she bit the knight's hand and fell to the ground. The moment she hit the ground, James shouted, Lilith! Then she got up, ran forward, and shouted, Daddy! At that very moment, the commander grabbed her. James shouted loudly, Damn it! Let go of her, she said. Ugh, wait. Dad, please stay quiet. Then she coughed, folded her hands before the commander once again, and pleaded, Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Please spare my dad's life. It's all because of the color of my hair. I completely understand why you're mistaken. I'll go, okay? I'll cooperate with the investigation. Then you'll see that it's not true. Then she began to think, Enoch Rubinstein. Why does that bastard have to look like me, of all people? Her eyes filled with tears as she added, And I actually know Enoch, whatever his name is, very well. I'll check everything for you. I'm sure he's hiding somewhere right now. I'll even help you find him. So please, just spare my dad this one time. I'll go. I'll go with you. Please, I'm begging you. At that moment, as soon as the commander drew his sword, and James activated his mana. Seeing this, she was shocked and think, Dad? What is that? As soon as his mana was activated, his hair turned silver, and his eyes turned blue. Seeing him, Commander began to think, the 27-year-old single father living in a mountain village, raising his young daughter alone. Mr. James? Is that right? At that moment, a knight stepped forward. The commander handed Lilith over to him and said, Make sure the child doesn't get hurt. Step back and wait. Knight says, Yes. Seeing him, she think, he's the person he was asking about earlier. This man was just diligently carrying out his duties. Then she said, I'm sorry. I only found out about this too. At that moment, Enoch Rubinstein stepped forward, launch a mana attack at the commander, and speaks. Disobeying orders results in death? He must have found that funny, Commander said. Damn. Then, using mana, Enoch Rubinstein stepped forward and asked, "How do you plan to subdue me?" The commander couldn't stop the mana attack. Then he shouted loudly, "How dare you touch my daughter?" Seeing this, a knight pointed his sword at Lilith and shouted, "Stop right there, Enoch Rubinstein." Enoch Rubinstein shouted, "Lilith, knight speaks. Surrender peacefully and follow us. If you do, we will guarantee your daughter's safety." Hearing this, Enoch Rubinstein said, "Threatening me with my child. The so-called Holy Knight Order is laughable." The commander knelt in front of him and says, "We are merely carrying out the Emperor's orders. His Majesty the Emperor has commanded, Enoch Rubinstein. You are to be brought back by any means necessary." Rubinstein speaks, "I've renounced that name. I no longer intend to live in obedience to the imperial family. Tell your master that." Then Commander said, "This is not a choice I'm giving you." The commander placed his sword against his neck and added, "It's an order." As he began using his mana again, a soldier shouted, "Enoch Rubinstein, if you want to ensure your daughter's safety, stop now." At that moment, Lilith shouted loudly, "Okay, hold on. Just a second." Then she think, to summarize the situation, my dad, whom I thought was just an extra, is actually the hidden protagonist, Enoch Rubinstein. So, I am part of his story. In other words, in his youth, he lost his young daughter because of the imperial family and sharpened his blade for vengeance. And now, he's in charge of taking care of this young daughter. Is this for real? I want my sweet extra life back. Once all of this became clear, knowing the original story, I only had one choice. Then, all of a sudden, Lilith clapped her hands and said, "Of course! If it's the Emperor's command, we must follow it. Dad's going back to the Knight Order today." Hearing this, he was shocked. A short while later they returned home. Lilith lying on the floor, and shouted, "I look just like Mom! I look just like Mom! Why didn't you tell me?" Why, he said. "Sorry, Princess, I'm really sorry. Even if I had 10 mouths, I wouldn't have anything to say. But daughter, who did you take after to be this clever? Quick thinking in that situation? Thanks to my princess, we bought some time. Hee. Those fools. They actually believed I was going to return and release their hostage?" He quickly packed a small bundle and speaks, "As long as our princess is safe, I have nothing to fear. Now let's quickly pack up and run." Seeing this, she began to think, "Wait, is this really happening? No matter how I look at it, he looks just like the village idiot. Well, I guess he only looked scary because they were threatening to harm me." Then she said, "Dad, we need to talk." He asked. "Yeah, what is it?" She replied, "Let's not run away. Let's go back to the Empire and return to the Knight Order. I want to live proudly. I want to go to the capital with you, Dad. I'll enroll in the Ability Training Academy and get my badge as an ability user too. I'm an ability user, after all." Hearing all this, Enoch asked, "What are you talking about? How do you even know about the academy and all that?" She replied, Uncle Joe told me." Enoch asked, "What? How does he know, and why would he tell you something like that? What was he thinking, telling a kid that?" Then he added, "Lilith, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. The truth is, I've always known this day would come. That scary men like the ones outside could come for us. Even though I knew, I still ran away. Because I didn't want you to grow up as an ability user. Living as an ability user, or as nobility, might look appealing, but what you see isn't the whole truth. In the Pavilion Empire, ability users are treated like royalty. Depending on their rank and expertise, they receive noble titles, own vast lands, and countless gold coins, and command the loyalty and obedience of all. But these privileges come with obligations. They must become the Emperor's sword, shield, and staff, serving their entire lives as members of the Imperial Elite Corps. In an empire where every day is spent hunting magical beasts, the Elite Corps are constantly dispatched to the battlefield. They are nothing more than glorified war slaves. Ability users are both nobles and soldiers, warriors and mages. They spend nearly their entire lives on the battlefield. And the battlefield is a truly horrifying place. A friend I greeted the day before died, and was brought back to me that same day. As I bury that friend, I wonder, who will die tomorrow? And how long will I survive? Lilith, I'm scared. I don't want you to live a life like mine. She listened to everything in silence. Then he speaks. Lilith, the day I first saw you, 7 years age when you were born. That day, you became my entire world. At that moment, he hugged Lilith tightly and added, I can't bear the thought of losing you. She said, Dad. Then she began to think, I understand you better than anyone, and I want to do as you wish. But if you don't return, this country will fall. That's right. You, Enoch Rubinstein, cannot stay here. In the original story, you return to the Night Order to avenge your daughter. You take in the male lead, Cheshire. You meticulously plan a rebellion from within the Night Order, and spark a revolution in this country. Because about 10 years from now, all ordinary people will die. The imperial family enacts a mass extermination policy for non-ability users, a literal genocide of ordinary people who lack magical abilities. The only one who can stop that is you, Dad. If we run away together now, you won't take in Cheshire, the male lead or rebel against the imperial family, and then everything will fall apart. Innocent extras like me will all die, won't they? Yeah. I can't just live as a fugitive and watch the country collapse. After a while, she asked, Dad, do you want me to live my whole life running away? Enoch replied, Not really, but you said you wanted to live a simple life with me, just the two of us. She says, Well, I've had a bit of a change of heart. He asked, What do you mean? She replied, Ability users are nobles, right? And as your daughter, I'd be the most powerful noble of all. Isn't that right? I could eat macarons every day, and wear dresses with ribbons too, right? Then she drifted into thought. At this point, I might as well use my memories from my past life to speed things up, find Cheshire sooner, and help ensure your revolution succeeds. Suddenly she speaks. I want to be a noble. I want to be a real princess. When we go back, Dad won't have to struggle to chop wood and sell it in the market anymore, and I won't have to wait for Dad to come back all the time. Also, I won't have to do laundry. Hearing all this, he said, I told you not to do the laundry, but you keep doing it anyway. Then she began to think, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't want to act this way. Suddenly, she shouted loudly, Why didn't you tell me? Why? He says. Lilith, she shouted loudly again. Why don't you want me to live as an ability user? What if I wanted to live as an ability user and become a noble? You didn't even ask for my opinion. I don't want Dad to be the only one who calls me that. I really want to be a princess. I'm not Dad's daughter. Hearing this, he was shocked and asked, What did you just say? She replied, I'm not James's daughter. I'll be Duke Enoch's daughter. If Dad doesn't go, I'll ask those uncles to take me. Hearing this, he bowed and said, All right. After a while, she was sitting in the carriage. As soon as it had traveled a short distance, she looked back at her home and thought, My beloved cottage, filled with memories of my childhood. I never thought I would leave like this. Now, my life as a regular countryside extra is over. What will await me from now on? After traveling for a while, she began to feel sleepy. So Enoch asked, Lilith, are you all right? She replied, yeah. Suddenly, she looked out the window and saw something rushing toward them at high speed. She asked, Dad? What's that? Hearing this, Commander replied, They're werewolves. Enoch asked, Are you kidding me? Lilith think, Werewolves? The commander got off his horse and said, I knew its habitat was nearby, but I didn't expect it to come down to the village. Wait here. I'll take care of it and be right back. Enoch says, Damn it, princess, stay still and don't move. You must not come out under any circumstances. Don't even stick your head outside. Enoch stepped out of the carriage. Lilith shouted, Wait, Dad, where are you going? Enoch stepped forward and said, You shield the carriage. If I find even a scratch on my daughter, you're dead. Commander speaks, You're going yourself? That's unnecessary. Enoch took the sword from the commander, stepped forward, and asked, How long do you expect me to wait while you take care of one werewolf at a time? Then, Enoch stepped toward them. Seeing this, Lilith was shocked and asked, Dad, Uncle, why are you just watching? Help him, he replied. He'll handle it himself. Hearing this, she was shocked and said, What? At that moment, just as they came within range, Enoch used his mana and wiped them out with a single strike. Seeing this, she was shocked and think, What in the world? The power of the strongest person in the world. The gap between reading about it and seeing it in person is tremendous. A noble family that only produced top-tier ability users, the foundation of aristocracy, the Empire's only sword master, the silver wolf of the battlefield, the undefeated soldier. Then Enoch speaks. I told you to shield the carriage. Why are you just standing there? She began to think again. The abnormal existence, described about 5,000 times. The protagonist's true strength. I see. So that's why he's the protagonist. Enoch returned, grabbed the commander by the collar, and said, I told you to guard the carriage. Why are you standing here? He said. This would have been dealt with in seconds. What a waste of mana. Enoch says. You're unbelievable. She continued thinking. Isn't this rise in status a bit too steep? In the blink of an eye, I became the daughter of the strongest man in the world. After a long journey, they arrived at the South Elfasha temple. Seeing this, she began to think. We came here to use the temple's warp gate, which is only found in big cities, to travel to the capital. Since commoners can't enter the capital in their regular clothes, I changed into something else. Wow! It's so soft! An overnight rise in status. Seeing her, a knight said, Little one, you're 7, right? You're so small though, she replied. Yes, I'm 7. Another knight asked. Does Duke Enoch starve you? She replied. No. Then first knight asked. Then have you been scolded? Isn't your dad scary? Second knight asked. What happens when your dad gets mad? Have you ever been hit? She replied. When my dad scolded me? When I hid my broccoli under the chicken. Or when he caught me secretly eating chocolate after I brushed my teeth. Hearing this, first knight was shocked and said, Wow, you're still young. It's understandable. He's raising you quite strictly. Second knight asked. Of course. He's Enoch Rubinstein. Do you think he'd spoil his own child? She replied. He doesn't do that. First knight asked. Is that all? Second knight asked. You've never been hit? She replied. No, I've never been hit, and I've never been scolded. By the way, uncles, is my dad really that scary? First knight replied. You see, Duke Enoch, he rips bears apart with his bare hands. Hearing this, she was shocked and said, He rips bears apart. Second knight speaks. He's cold. But how cold can he be? He was a superior that was hard to get close to. She asked, Weren't you kind of close to the commander? Then she think, I remember that person. No wonder he looked familiar. Axion Libra. 1. Rank Moss Dox. 2. Duke Libra. 3. The reason he joined the Knight Order. 4. 7 years ago, he became the commander after my dad disappeared. 5. In the future, he'll become my dad's closest ally and a comrade in the revolution. As expected, he was a major character in the original story. So that person was Axion. Right. With such a handsome face, there's no way he's just an extra. At that moment, the knights began talking among themselves. Earlier, Duke Enoch tried to kill the commander, didn't he? Yeah. If things had gone wrong, it definitely would have been murder. Suddenly, someone opened the door. Lilith watched as the person stepped outside. The moment he emerged, she realized it was Enoch Rubinstein. Lilith watched him and thought, Dad's here. Dad. He was wearing a knight's uniform. Seeing him, she thought again. Even if I hadn't read the novel, I'd know he's the protagonist. At that moment, he leaned toward her and said, Lilith, an angel? Then, he lifted Lilith into the air and added, No way. This can't be happening. You're an angel. That's my princess's true identity. Hearing this, she think, He's doing it again. Enoch says, My daughter looks like this, while I'm always wearing rags. Lilith think, I'm sorry, Dad. I was wrong. Then she said, No, they're not exactly rags. Suddenly, Commander speaks. He's a bit much. At that moment, the commander walked toward the warp gate and added, Let's not waste time. Let's leave immediately. Enoch says, My little one, just one kiss. Then, as soon as Enoch stepped into the warp gate, they arrived in Primera, the Empire's capital, almost instantly. Standing before him were several priests. One of them said, Duke Enoch, you really have returned. Duke Enoch speaks. It's been a while, Your Excellency. A priest bowed respectfully and says, May the blessings of Primera be with you. Then another priest asked, Duke Enoch, are you planning to return home immediately? First priest asked, Shouldn't we at least hold a brief homecoming ceremony? We prepared everything after receiving notice that you might return. Duke Enoch replied, The imperial family will be holding a homecoming ceremony, right? We'll see you then. Today's journey has been long, and I'm worried my daughter might be tired. As soon as they entered the market, Lilith looked around in astonishment and said, Wow, there are so many people. Commander speaks. Don't stray off. Go straight home. Then Duke Enoch says, We've come all the way to the capital. Don't wander off on your own. Hurry up. Let's go. Princess, are you sure you don't want to ride in the carriage? It's a 15-minute walk. Should I carry you? Lilith speaks. If you keep carrying me, I'll forget how to walk. I'll walk. I want to see the capital too, Duke Enoch said. But if your legs hurt, tell me right away. Okay? Lilith smiled and says, Got it. Then she began to think. All right, it's starting now. Let's stay focused. The protagonist, who no longer needs to think about his daughter's revenge, Enoch Rubinstein. I made a huge mistake that completely erased any chance for the original story to begin. To fix this, we have to follow the original story from now on, no matter what. The first thing we need to do is, as they walked a little farther, people respectfully knelt before them and began saying, Greetings, Sir Knight. May the great glory and blessings of Primera be upon you. Thank you, as always. May the high glory of Primera be with you, Duke Enoch said. Enough. That's enough. Seeing this, she began to think again. I knew this would happen, but this is a bit excessive. What kind of country is this, where people bow and scrape just to greet someone? If this world didn't have such blatant disregard for human rights, the protagonist wouldn't have had the chance to start a revolution, and I wouldn't have had anything to write my thesis about. So, the first thing I have to do is find the other protagonist, Cheshire, and make sure he meets my dad. My dad can't start a revolution in this corrupt empire by himself. He absolutely needs Cheshire's help. Cheshire Rubinstein. Rank Dose. Sword Master of the Dose Mage Knight Order. Sword Master Kim Rubinstein, the son of the magical examiner. In the story, he is one of the strongest with Enoch Rubinstein in the top tier class. His punches seem slow. But there's one problem with the current setting. 6. Originally a noble bastard, he lived a life of abuse. But by chance, he caught Enoch Rubinstein's eye and was adopted as his son. What exactly was that chance encounter? Their first meeting wasn't even mentioned in the novel, so I have no idea how they met. And since my dad's daughter is still alive, he probably has no interest in Cheshire, so I need to artificially arrange their meeting. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Then, suddenly, she noticed something in a nearby alley and asked, Dad? Why? What's over there? Enoch replied, No, it's nothing. It just looked like there was some conflict. Anyway, the security forces are patrolling, so we don't need to worry. Let's go, Princess, she asked. Is someone fighting over there? Shouldn't we stop it? Enoch knelt down in front of her and replied, That's true, but I don't want our princess getting into danger for no reason. She speaks, Let's not do that. Just come with me. Dad's really strong, so it should be fine. Right, Enoch says. I guess so. Then, they walked into the alley. 2 children were beating up a boy. Seeing him, she think, weren't they just kids? Then she shouted loudly, What are you 2 doing right now? These damn little brats. Upon seeing them, the children immediately dropped to their knees and knelt on the ground, saying, Sir, greetings, for the glory and grace of Primera. Enoch asked, Enough. What's going on here? A boy replied, We apologize for being too noisy. That commoner failed to greet me, so I. Then Lilith yells again, You hit someone because they didn't greet you? A kid at that? Hearing this, he said, Priest? I'm an Octava though. Then Lilith speaks, Wow. You think you can hit people like this just because you're an ability user? Hearing this, second boy asked, Can you really just hit people like that? First boy replied, Right, I obviously can. At that moment, Enoch says, Stop causing trouble and leave, they said. For the greatest glory of Primera. Enoch added, Just go, they said. Yes, sir. At that moment, Lilith began to think, A revolution is really necessary, Dad. Then she speaks, Life here in the capital is just wonderful. He then knelt on one knee and asked, Hey, Princess. You know what? She replied, Wait. Then, Lilith walked over to the boy and asked, Are you okay? Suddenly, she noticed the blood. She knelt beside the boy and added, Wah, blood. Hey, let's deal with the blood first. As Lilith reached out with a handkerchief to wipe away his blood, he abruptly shoved her hand back. Lilith says, Sorry. Sorry for touching you all of a sudden. Lilith placed the handkerchief on his leg and said, I'll leave this here. Then she think, I just saw this kid get beaten up, so I feel bad for thinking this, but isn't he handsome? Wait, black hair and red eyes? If this really is the world in the novel, one rule is absolute. There's no such thing as a handsome extra. If that's the case, then this kid must be Cheshire? Suddenly Lilith asked, What's your name? Then Enoch stepped forward and asked, Kid, does it hurt a lot? Can you stand up? He got to his feet and began walking with a limp. Seeing him, Enoch speaks, Hold on, you. At that moment, Enoch reached out his hand to him, but he pushed it away as well. Then Lilith shouted loudly, Hey, wait a minute. Enoch speaks, Lilith. Yeah, princess. There are a lot of people who don't like nobles. Hearing this, Lilith was shocked and says, Yeah. That kid seems uncomfortable. Let's just leave it at this for now. Then she began to think, Yep, this is definitely the novel's world. The original plot must be progressing naturally. This must be that first meeting between the two protagonists. That was described as a chance, he said. Let's go, princess. She speaks. Okay. Daddy? He asked. Yes, princess. What is it? She replied. Can I be friends with whoever I want? He asked. What do you mean? She asked. I'm a noble. Does that mean I can't make friends with commoners? He replied. Not at all, Lilith. Be it a noble, a commoner, an ability user, or a non-ability user, it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy, you can be friends with anyone. Hearing this, she was happy and asked, Really? He replied. Of course. Then she speaks. That kid from earlier, I wonder where he went. I don't know why, but I keep worrying and thinking about him, he said. You're that curious about someone you just met? She smiled and says, Yeah? I think I want to be friends with him. Dad, can you help me find him later? I'm curious about whether his injuries were treated, and I also want to talk to him. At those words, Enoch laughed loudly. Then, he lifted Lilith into his arms, hugged her tightly, smiled, and said, I've given birth to an angel. She asked, You'll help me find him? He replied, Yes, let's do that. Of course we should. When have I ever said no to my princess? Upon hearing this, she smiled and speaks, Wah! You're the best, Dad. Thank you. Then she drifted into thought. If the original storyline is still in effect, Cheshire should be staying at Marquis Onyx's estate now. I know where he is. So, just wait, Cheshire. I'll find you as soon as I can. His name is Cheshire. That same night, Cheshire returned to Marquis Onyx's estate. Seeing him, Marquis Onyx said, Jonathan, have you lost your mind? What are you going to do if you throw that boy out? Then Jonathan shouted loudly, I can't stand having that brat in this house. Marquis speaks. Shut up. What do you expect me to do? If we throw him out carelessly, what will happen if he's caught in the Empire's random ability user checks? If they discover he's an ability user, they'll investigate his lineage. It's only a matter of time before they find out he's my blood. Then not only will I be known as a man who fathered an illegitimate child, but also one who threw him out like garbage. Jonathan yells, You're not planning on announcing that illegitimate brat's existence to the world, are you? Marquis shouted loudly. That's why we'll lock him up and raise him in secret. Hearing this, Jonathan yells again. Then just kill him without anyone knowing. I can't even stand breathing the same air as him. Then Marquis turned back and said, Don't ever try something like that. I won't interfere with anything else. Then, Jonathan stormed over to him, grabbed him by the collar, and shouted as he punched him, You filthy brat. At that moment, Cheshire drifted into thought. It's slowing down. Does someone like me really have powers? Because I'm the child of an ability user? I'm so tired. I just want it to end already. A short while later, he lay on the floor. Moonlight streamed in through the window. Gazing at its gentle glow, he thought to himself, Dying would be easier. But, am I too scared to die too? At that moment, he reached into his pocket and took out Lilith's handkerchief. Seeing the handkerchief reminded him of Lilith's words, Sorry for touching you all of a sudden. I'll leave this here. That noble girl's handkerchief. Why did I even take this? Then he said, I just want to die. As soon as they arrived at the estate, Lilith was stunned to see him and said, Wow, it's so big. At that moment, Enoch stepped forward. As soon as he rang the doorbell, Lilith says, Dad, wait a second. Enoch asked, Why? She replied. I need to mentally prepare myself first. Hearing this, Enoch smiled and speaks. Ahaha. Hey, there's nothing to be nervous about, princess. She began to think. Don't you feel anxious, Dad? It's been 7 years since you've seen your family. Then, suddenly, several servants came running to welcome them. Among them, the butler stepped forward and said, Young master, you really came back. Enoch speaks. Hey, Rem. It's been a while, he says. Oh my goodness. Heavens. So, this is Little Master's. Oh, unbelievable. She bowed respectfully and said, hello? My name is Lilith. He bowed respectfully and speaks. Nice to meet you, Miss Lilith. My name is Remian Santos. Please feel free to call me Rem. Then, the maid stepped forward, saw Lilith, and said, Oh my. You look like an angel. You look just like the young master. So adorable. Gah! Suddenly Enoch asked, How long are you going to keep us standing outside? Rem replied, Oh dear, where are my manners? I'm so sorry, young master. Miss Lilith, in my 50 years of life, I've never had such an emotional moment. Enoch speaks. Stop making such a fuss. Rem smiled and added, We did hear that the Holy Knights had received an imperial command to bring the young master back. But honestly, none of us, not even the headmaster, had much hope. Enoch said. Well, I guess my face is going to shock him quite a bit. Rem replied. Of course, he'll be overjoyed. Upon hearing this, she lost in thought. Dad's father, he's the one who exuded an overwhelming presence every time he appeared. Enoch Rubinstein, being a true noble to the core. Just like my father, my grandfather also possesses DOS rank abilities. When I read about him, his dignity practically seemed to jump off the page. In the original story, he was incredibly kind to Cheshire. He pretended to be indifferent, but he secretly took care of everything behind the scenes. I hope he's kind to me, too, but that's probably asking too much. After a while, suddenly, Rem said, Oh, by the way, Lady Ordia is here as well. Hearing this, Enoch was shocked and asked, My sister? Rem replied, Yes. Lady Ordia believed you would return. She's been staying with the young master's family for the past 2 weeks. Then Lilith began to think, I knew Dad had a sister, but she was never mentioned in the original story, so this is my first time hearing her name. Ugh, this is actually happening. Upon reaching the door, Rem said, I'll inform the dining staff to prepare a feast, even more splendid than ever before. This is truly inspiring. As soon as the mansion's doors opened, Lilith was left speechless by its grandeur. Her eyes widened, and she couldn't help but exclaim, Wow! What a palace! Then, they entered the mansion, and Lilith drifted into thought. Is that real gold? It must be real gold, right? At that moment, Enoch asked, What's wrong, princess? She replied, Oh, nothing at all. She continued thought. Not only was James Brown hiding his power, but also his wealth. Isn't he charging ahead a bit too confidently? I'm so nervous. Someone save me. As soon as Enoch opened the door to a room, she said, Dad. Wait. Inside the room were Enoch's father, Enoch Rubinstein, and his sister, Lady Ordia. Seeing them, Lady Ordia was shocked and said, Oh my goodness. Enoch. He smiled and says, I've returned. Father. Seeing them, Lilith was shocked and began to think, His presence is no joke. How terrifying. Enoch stood up and speaks. You, Enoch said. You've aged quite a bit since I last saw you. That hurts. Enoch raised his cane to strike Enoch and yelled, You brat! At that moment, Lady Ordia shouted, Father, there's a child here. Lilith was frightened. Seeing her, Enoch asked, Is that your daughter? Enoch replied, What do you mean by that? She's my princess. Enoch speaks. You raised her all on your own for 7 years, without so much as a single message to let us know whether you were alive or dead. Hearing this, Lilith started thinking, Of course. He's probably thinking about how I kept him apart from his son for 7 years. If I were grandfather, I'd probably hate someone like me too. Well, I did expect him to react like this. His eyes were full of tears. Lilith, don't be discouraged. You idiot. It's only natural. It's only natural. I don't want to be hated, but... After a while, she said, I'm sorry. Enoch asked, Princess? Lilith? What does my princess have to apologize for? Then he added, Father, please soften your expression. You're scaring my princess. Nordic said in a fury. Silence. Seeing them angry, she thinks, will he really hit me? Then, he squeezed his eyes shut. Nordic walks over to her and kneels on one knee in front of her. Then he gently pinches her cheek. She opened his eyes and began to think, what is this? Then Enoch clears his throat. Seeing him, she think, I his grandfather, doting on me? At that moment, she smiled and said, Grandpa, I'm Lilith. I'm 7 years old. Nordic speaks, Grandpa, it's nice to meet you. Then, Lilith reaches out her arms toward him. Nordic picks her up and hugs her tightly. She says, indeed. Nordic smiled and said, I'm your grandfather. After a while, Lady Ordia said, Lilith, let me introduce you to your cousins. Lilith asked, my cousins? Lady Ordia replied, I have 2 sons. They are twins, actually. They're a bit mischievous, which worries me, but they're good boys at heart. They've always wanted a younger sibling. I'm sure they'll really like you. Hearing this, Lilith began to think, right, if they're my aunt's sons, they must be the Antrace heirs, the twin heirs of the Antrace ducal family. They're the nephews of Enoch Rubinstein. One of them will become a holy knight, and the other will become a magic swordsman. As soon as they reach the twins' room, Lady Ordia stopped and speaks. Well, our Theo is a bit frail, so I'm worried about him. Lilith says, oh, I see. Then, Lady Ordia opened the door and said, hey boys, look who's here. Seeing them, Lilith drifted into thought. In this novel, where people die all the time, both of them end up dying. The twins were among the few people that Cheshire, Dad's adopted son, truly opened his heart to. So when the 2 people he treated like his own brothers died, Cheshire nearly lost his mind. Anyway, they really look like someone copied and pasted them. The 2 of them were twins. One was named Theo Antrace, and the other was named Leon Antrace. Seeing Lilith, Theo happily asked, whoa, do you see this? Leon was shocked and replied, what the? She's so tiny. Hearing this, Lady Ordia smiled and speaks. They look exactly alike, don't they? It's embarrassing to admit, but when the kids really put their minds into tricking me, even I, their mother, can't tell them apart. Leon, Theo, your uncle just came back a little while ago, and this cutie here is your cousin. Her name is Lilith. Hearing this, Theo smiled and says, wow, Lilith? Nice to meet you. I'm Theo Antrace, 12 years old. Seeing him, Lilith drifted into thought. So this is Theo. In the original story, he was the first to die. Theo, who is destined to become a holy knight, is a bit frail. In the story, Theo had a gentle and caring personality. He looked after Cheshire like a true older brother. Theo tragically dies the spring after he was knighted, due to a rare congenital disease. Judging by the timeline, he likely has less than 4 years left. After a while, Lilith said, nice to meet you, big brother. I'm Lilith. I'm 7 years old. Theo says, ah, so pretty. Leon hid behind Lady Ordia. She speaks, Leon, you should say hi to Lilith too. Leon said, you're too small to be 7. Dummy. I was way taller when I was 7. Hearing this, Lady Ordia speaks. What? Did you just call your little sister a dummy? Lilith, even though your brothers look exactly alike, their personalities couldn't be more different. Theo is kind and gentle, while Leon is mischievous, which worries me. Hearing this, Leon was shocked and asked, what are you talking about? Lady Ordia added, Leon, behave yourself, and try speaking more politely. How many times have I told you that girls won't like you if you act like this? It hasn't even been a few days since you scared Lady Ballerina with that giant spider. Do you want to get scolded again? Leon said. Lady Merica Ballerina said she likes spiders, so I brought it for her. Then Lady Ordia says, she only said that because she wanted to be friends with you, not because she actually likes hairy spiders. What kind of lady would like something like that? At that moment, Lilith began to think, raising sons must be exhausting. Leon, who is destined to become a magic swordsman, is playful and has a habit of blurting things out, which often led to him bickering with Cheshire. Of course, it wasn't how he truly felt. No one cared for Cheshire more than Leon. In the original story, around Volume 2, there's a large-scale monster subjugation battle. Leon dies there. He steps in front of Cheshire and takes an attack, meant for him when Cheshire is ambushed. That part was written so heart-wrenchingly. I think I'm about to cry again. It made him seem both heroic and pitiful at the same time. After a while, Lilith said, brother, I'm so happy to meet you. Let's get along really well. We can even catch spiders together if you want. Hee hee. I like big spiders too. Then she think, I want to get closer to him. At that moment, Leon grabbed Lilith's cheek and pinched it hard, making her shout. Seeing this, Lady Ordia was shocked and says, This can't be. Leon. Then Theo yells, Ah, hey Leon, how could you pinch her so hard? Lilith burst into tears, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Then she lost in thought. It hurt, but I didn't mean to actually cry. Why did it have to happen? Right when I was already emotional while thinking about the original story, Leon says. I just. Theo stepped forward, looked at her cheek, and said, Oh my, it seems like it hurts a lot. Don't cry, Lilith. Leon speaks. I just thought she was cute. Lady Ordia said. Hurry up and apologize, won't you? Then Lilith says, Auntie, I'm okay. Leon stepped forward and said, Sorry. Seeing him, she think, how pitiable. Then she speaks. No, brother. I'm fine. It doesn't hurt at all. I'm sorry for suddenly crying. But, next time, please be a little softer. Pinch lightly, Leon said. Well, I guess. That evening, everyone gathered around the dining table for dinner. As soon as Lilith saw the table filled with food, she was astonished. She think, Wow, really extravagant. Is everything ready? At that moment, a servant began serving the food and said, Enjoy your meal, young lady and young masters. Then Lady Ordia smiled and says, Eat a lot, Lilith. Lilith reply, Yes. Seeing this, she drifted into thought. There are so many dishes. I don't know which one to start with. What should I do? First, I should follow Leon, who's sitting next to me. Just then, Nordic arrived. Seeing him, Lady Ordia said, Oh, father, you've come, he says. Yes. Then Lady Ordia asked, What about Enoch? He replied. He said he'll join us soon after he unpacks. Let's eat first. Lilith began to think again. So this is what noble meals are like. I'm so nervous. I can't even tell if it tastes good. Then Nordic said, Leon. Leon replied, Yes, Grandpa. He speaks. I heard you caused a ruckus. Just then, Lady Ordia speaks. Father. Leon apologized to Lady Ballerina. I'm sorry too. So before we leave, I'd like to have tea with Countess Ballerina. Hearing this, Lilith think. They said something about a giant spider earlier. It seems like it turned out to be a bigger incident than I expected. Then Nordic speaks. I've heard many stories about how your mother caused trouble. But I hear you caused a stir here as well. I think I need to say something. You are also a Rubinstein. You're 12 now. So you should understand the weight of that name. Leon replied. Yes. Then Nordic added. Always carefully revise and check your actions to avoid any trouble. Stick to proper etiquette. Do not act recklessly. Maintain a demeanor that is worthy of being an example for others. I hope I won't hear anything about our family's name being tarnished from now on. Leon replied. Yes, Grandpa. I apologize. Hearing all this, Lilith drifted into thought. Grandpa is exactly like he was in the original work. He's a perfect example of a noble through and through. He upholds etiquette and decorum as if his life depends on it, and is extremely averse to anything that isn't dignified. So, I felt like crying. Just then, a servant served the steak. Seeing it, Lilith thought, the timing is perfect. I've never learned noble etiquette. What should I eat the steak with? What do I do? Maybe if I cheat a little, I'll have a chance. Seeing her, Leon asked, Why aren't you eating? Then Theo asked, Lilith, are you already full? She replied, No, it's not that. At that moment, Lady Ordia asked, What's wrong, Lilith? Hearing all this, she thought, What's with this spotlight all of a sudden? How should I respond? Would it be better to honestly admit that I don't know table manners? Anyway, Grandpa and Auntie both know I've never used these kinds of utensils before. But they're probably already troubled because of Dad and me. If they see how clueless I am, won't they feel even worse? Why isn't Dad here yet? Just then, suddenly Enoch arrived and said, I'm late. Seeing him, she began to think, Ah, he's here. James Brown. My savior. Then Enoch speaks. Ah, Lilith. Let's eat together with Dad. Suddenly Lady Ordia yells, My goodness. Leon. Lilith noticed that Leon had stabbed the steak with his fork. Seeing that, she thought, What's going on? What happened? Then, he lifted the steak with his fork and took a huge bite out of it. Seeing him, Lady Ordia yelled, Why are you eating so rudely? Your younger sibling is right here. At that moment, Theo began cutting his steak into small pieces. Lady Ordia yelled again, Theo, you too? Who taught you to handle a knife so carelessly? Can't you do it properly? Then Theo handed the sliced pieces of steak to Lilith and said, Here, eat, Lilith. Seeing this, she began to think, wow, these kids, they were being considerate of me. They're such good brothers. Then Lady Ordia speaks, Why are they even acting like that? Do you really want to get scolded? Father, I'm sorry, I should have, Nordic said. Enough, Lady Ordia says. Pardon? Nordic speaks, Let's eat. Then, Lilith took a bite of the steak and began to think, This is bliss. Nordic asked, Is it delicious? She replied, Yes, Grandpa. It's so delicious, Nordic said. Good. Eat a lot, he asked. Do you like it? She replied, Yes. Then, she lay down on the bed and said, Wow, the bed is so soft and fluffy. He speaks, Hey, princess, she replied. Yes? He says, The boy we met in the alley earlier. Do you remember him? Hearing this, she was shocked and said, Oh, yes. Then she think, Cheshire. Enoch added, I'll find him right away. I should be able to locate him soon. Once I do, let's ask him if he needs any help. She replied, Thank you. But there's no rush. At that moment, she drifted into thought. I was just thinking about it myself. Sorry, but for now, no matter what Dad does, it'll be hard to find Cheshire. Earlier, we crossed paths by chance, but it won't happen a second time. According to the original story, he and Dad won't meet again for another 2 years. Right now, Cheshire is being kept hidden and raised in Marquise Onyx's estate. Meanwhile, Dad, having returned after 7 years, is likely still unfamiliar with how the capital works. He's not the type to rely on illegal guilds operating underground to search for someone. I guess I'll have to help out after all. After a while, she said, Let's go to bed, Dad. Don't worry too much. Then she thought, Your daughter will take care of everything. The next morning, Rem came to Lilith's room and said, Miss, these are the maids assigned to take care of you. These are your personal maids. One is named Jetty, and the other is named June. The young master will be confined starting today. No, wait. He is not expected to leave his office. Then he asked, Are you all right? Lilith replied enthusiastically, Yes. Then she lost in thought. Of course. He must be busy resuming his duties as the head of the household after being absent for 7 years. Naturally, I understand. Rem speaks. Jetty and June are veteran maids who passed a 50-to-1 competition to become your personal attendants. Jetty smiled and says, That's right. I'm Jetty, miss. I secured a position as your personal maid by winning first place in the tournaments of adjusting bathwater temperatures, drawing, and making snacks. Proudly so. June and I are sisters. I'm the older one. Hearing this, she think, Wait, there are tournaments for this? Seriously? Then June stepped forward and speaks. I'm June. I hold the record for 47 push-ups, 55 sit-ups, and a 3-meter standing long jump, ranking first overall. You can trust me to serve you with all my heart and soul. She continued thinking, why would skills like that be necessary for taking care of a 7-year-old? Then she bowed respectfully and said, It's a pleasure to meet you, Sister Jetty and Sister June. Seeing her, Jetty was shocked and says, Oh my. June asked, Sniff, miss. Why are you so small and adorable? Pardon? Jetty said. Look at those chubby cheeks. They're like a lump of dough. They look like they'll melt away. Then Rem speaks. All right. That's enough, girls. Let's wrap up the greetings. We'll now inform you of your schedule for today. The master has instructed us to start your education from today. Your teachers will arrive at 10 o'clock this morning. At that moment, she lost in thought. They seem a bit apologetic about making me start studying the day after arriving in the capital. But this is exactly what I wanted. Then she said, Yes, Uncle Rem. I can study. I'm good at it. I'll do my best. Rem speaks. Oh dear. I should take note of this. You really resemble the young master when he was your age. Today is just the first day, so it'll likely just be introductions. It shouldn't be anything too difficult. A little later during class, then teacher said, Now look here. There are 2 apples, right? But then 2 more apples appear. Poof! Just like that. She was the math teacher. Her name is Countess Lena. Countess Lena added, So now, there are 4 apples. 2 times 2 equals 4. Hearing this, she began to think, wow, to think I'm learning elementary school multiplication at this age. Then Countess Lena speaks. Now, if 2 more apples appear again, so they appear 3 times in total, what happens? Leon raised his hand and said, 2 times 3. 6. Countess Lena says, young master, you must let the young lady answer. You already know all of this, don't you? Just then Theo speaks. That's right, Leon. Don't interrupt Lilith while she's studying. She fell deep into thought while trying to solve the problem. I'd rather you just interrupt me. I could handle etiquette and liberal arts, because they were necessary. But solving these elementary math problems is something else entirely. At that moment, Countess Lena stepped forward and asked, Is it too difficult for you? She replied, Yes. Countess Lena added, Why don't you give it a try? It's okay if you get it wrong. Hey, kiddo. Want me to tell you the answer? Young master, you mustn't. Then, Leon spoke to her, so Countess Lena yelled, Leon, stop interrupting her. At that moment, Theo said, Leon, I told you not to interrupt. She closed her eyes and became lost in thought. I don't have time to be doing this right now. I need to find Cheshire as soon as possible. Cheshire became our family's adopted son during the fall of his 13th year. Based on the age difference with Dad, Cheshire should be 11 years old now. This means he'll have to endure 2 more years of abuse at Marquis Onyx's house. That won't do. I need to help Dad find Cheshire sooner. To do that first, I need to find someone, the future head of the Intelligence Guild, who will become Dad's ally years later. If I can find him ahead of time and bring him to my side, not only will rescuing Cheshire become easier, but everything else going forward will as well. To meet that person, I'll have to sneak out first. But in the body of a mere 7-year-old, the restrictions are endless. And here I am, stuck solving math problems in a study room. I've already memorized the entire 19 times table. Suddenly, the teacher's voice interrupted her train of thought. Then she asked, My lady? How did you do this? Lilith replied, Pardon? As soon as Leon looked at her paper, he froze in shock. Then he said, Wow, kiddo. You're really smart. You solved it without even calculating? At that moment, Lilith looked at her paper and began to think. I wrote out the entire 19 times table. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us grow.